we park the European action to one side to an extent, because we're going to be talking about Liverpool and where they are now and what they have left to play for this season. The answer is plenty, but how do they get a reaction this weekend against Crystal Palace? I tell you what, let's hear from the man who knows, Jurgen Klopp.
First and foremost, and I cannot ensure that, never could, but it's still the job I have to do. But first and foremost, what's really important, I don't think it's a general low point, even we can see it like that as well. It was performance-wise a low point. Yeah? So the good thing about really bad performance is easy to play better. So we should start from there. And for first and foremost, this must feel bad, and it does. So to let the boys take it home. Nobody will sleep great. And then tomorrow we come together, then the boys, the starters recover, and all the others get a proper session. And then you go from there. And then on Saturday we will start preparing Crystal Palace. So, yes, we have to show reaction, definitely, 100%. That's clear. But I cannot plan the reaction 20 minutes after the game when I gave, in these 20 minutes, constantly interviews. So even I have to think from time to time, and I will think about that. It's now not the first time in my life that I lost a football game, unfortunately. And yes, we will show a reaction, I can promise.
You can promise there's going to be a reaction. Augie, they haven't lost to Palace since Coutinho got the opener, and 2 from Benteke at Anfield gave Palace all 3 points. In April 2017, decent opponents. It's all right saying that you'll see a reaction. How does he ensure that Liverpool give a reaction?
Well, he might not need to ensure it himself. I think the players will have to be motivated to bounce back. They know the title's on the line. They dropped 2 points at Old Trafford last week, so the margin for error is gone, and they need to make sure they get back to winning ways. So I think Klopp could actually not even bother going into the dressing room on Sunday and say, right, I'll leave it up to you guys, because you know exactly what you need to do. They look a little bit tired to me, Liverpool. They look like the injury crisis they had about a month or two ago is now beginning to take its toll, in the sense that the players that have had to stand in are now feeling the heat. You know, Alexander-Arnold, I think he's back. He was on the bench against Atalanta. I think Diogo Jota's back as well, which is massive. And Andy Robertson's getting some games under his belt, but they look a tired team. And I think once that starts to creep in the running, if you start dropping points, you know that you really are kind of on a tightrope. So that's where Liverpool are right now. And I think what Klopp needs to do is find a way to freshen up without weakening his team. And that's what managers have to do. That's what they earn the money for. And I think maybe last night he kind of rotated it, thinking that Atalanta would be easier than it was, and it wasn't, and he had to call on the players that he rested. So it's a balancing act. And Crystal Palace are a dangerous team, especially under Oliver Glasner. They've changed things around a bit. So it's a worry for Liverpool.
Janusz, how does he freshen things up, as Augie said, without weakening the team against Palace?
Yeah, he doesn't have to do that. That's the name of the game for Liverpool and the rest of the season. Play your strongest lineup. Everybody's back pretty much. Trent is back. I mean, right now, regardless of what happens in Europa League, obviously the title is on the line. I mean, all the big players are back. Diogo Jota, even though he just came in already, you could see he made a difference, as he always does, right? For him, after injuries, it doesn't take long to get back to it. I think he's going to have to manage that. I'm not saying that Jota is going to be in the starting 11 right away, but if you can, you do that. Make it simple right now, because you accounted for that, right? I mean, when you have so many players injured, you kind of pick the time of the season. All teams do that when you want your best players back. And I believe that Liverpool have that. So Salah's got to start. Obviously, you have to make a decision in the midfield, with the exception of one player, because if we're honest with ourselves, Dominic Szoboszlai has been average at best. I think we can sit here and talk about his potential, what he does. He came in the game, and if many felt he needs to start, I think he's been okay. No more than that, right? And he's going to come good at some stage, I hope, anyway. But so make a decision there with Jota and Salah. That leaves you with just one decision: who's going to fill the third slot. As I've said, everything picks itself. So you can't account for what happened last in a game against Atalanta. It's not the loss, because that's going to happen to everybody, right? But I think the lack of reaction, for the most part, to allow this to be 3-0. We saw Salah scored a wonderful goal that was marginally offside, but that would worry me a little bit, because we usually see with substitution massive reaction from Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. So that 3-0 would bother me, but the loss itself, it happens.
Okay, some managers pick the team for a league game with one eye on the midweek European tie. Going forward now, Liverpool go to Bergamo in midweek with a 3-0 deficit. Could they overturn it? Of course they could, but the focus cannot be allowed to be on that. That will take care of itself. The focus has to be on Palace. Would you have that focus knowing that Europe will take care of itself? And look, if they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. Or is this all about it's all the eggs in the Premier League basket and then we'll see where we are after the game?
Yeah, I think in many ways the Crystal Palace selection takes care of itself. It has to put his strongest team out. But I think the dilemma comes next week because the Atalanta game is Thursday. They then play Fulham on the Sunday. So it's a case of whether Klopp has to go with his big guns this week, and he really has to. He has to get a win, make sure they stay in the title race. Well, they're not going to be out of it, but maintain that kind of pace with Arsenal and City. His big dilemma comes next Thursday when he thinks, do I put the big guns out again to try and do mission impossible and overturn a 3-0 deficit and win? Or do I keep everybody back, abandon the Europa League, which is a big competition to win? It's the one trophy he's never won as Liverpool manager. Do I hold everybody back and make sure that everybody's fit and fresh for Fulham away at Craven Cottage a week on Sunday? Because that is a tough game as well. So it's what he prioritizes. Do you prioritize? Obviously, he has to prioritize the Premier League. That is the big one. But equally, football managers and football players and fans are greedy. They want to win everything. And the Europa League is not a trophy that you can sniff at. What a way to go that would be to have your farewell in Dublin, which is a city with massive Liverpool support, and win there. But that is slightly out of his hands now. So, like I said, the Palace team selection should take care of itself. The big guns that are fit, they play. It's what he does next Thursday and whether he can afford to risk the same big guns again, knowing they got a massive game at Fulham 3 days later.
Yeah, and Ashoggi was talking about being fit and being fresh. I don't think you're going to be fit and be fresh, certainly 100% now. So it might just be the case of, you know what, whether it's game by game or just ask the players for everything they've got. We've seen Rodri at City saying that he's tired. It happens at this stage of the season. You can't not be fit or fresh if you're playing every 3 games. So what does he do with regards to this going forward?
Yeah, dilemma. I hear what you're saying, Augie, but I don't think there is any really, because he's been doing this in all the cup competitions. There's going to be a little bit of a rotations, and only now because of that loss we may look at it differently. Because if this was closer, or maybe Liverpool wins, nothing would have changed for him, right? Because what's going to happen? The best lineup, or the best possible lineup against Crystal Palace. Then you go to Atalanta, and you're probably going to start and give some extra minutes to the likes of Diogo Jota. If Trent's available, it's going to be a very strong lineup that may or may not get through. But clearly, if I were him, he's thinking, look, if I'm going to win something, support or not, I haven't won Europa League. Premier League is the only title he has to win. He understands probably that that's going to go a longer way, right? Everybody's saying that he should have probably won more than just one Premier League title. I'm not saying that he's going to say no to Europa League, but I can't imagine for the life of me that he would stress about it too much. It's still going to be a strong lineup simply because some of the big names that I've mentioned will need minutes, and it may just be good enough to win that game. May not be good enough to get through that, but I don't think he's going to lose any sleep, because the bottom line is he's going to have everybody, the Jotas, the Trents, ready to go for 3 away games, right? And then there's Spurs. So I think he's looking at that. How do I get my best players to be able and available for 90 minutes for those 4 games that are coming up in the Premier League?